Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the next instalment of Gonzo's Pinball Flipperama's Top 50 Pinball Machines. There is one criteria or one entry requirement needed to get on to that list, and that is that the game has to have lived here, either be it on rent, on loan, or on owned, whatever. It has to have been here in this house, because I don't feel it's fair to appraise a game that you've had on your own for a month or so and you understand the rules with something that you've just put one coin in on location, a busy location where you don't understand it. That's why. So, at the moment we have 8 games on the list there, which are Attack from Mars, Virus House Horrors, Champion Pub, Avengers Infinity Quest, Medieval Madness, Judge Dredd, Ghostbusters, and Popeye. Today we are going to be taking a look at World Cup Soccer, or as it should be called, World Cup Football. I love this game. And first of all, I'm going to have to thank Alan, because without Alan, I wouldn't be able to put it up on the list there, because Alan, aka Happy Pin, lent me the game. I also got to thank him and his brother Alfie, who, when a fuse had blown and I didn't know that it was just a fuse, I probably could have fixed it myself. They came all the way down here and fixed it for me, and they dropped off Munsters as well. So it was a doubly good visit, quite frankly. And all I did was pay them back with a chili con carne. So I think I probably owe them. I think that's fair to say. I was absolutely delighted to get this game, because whilst I say it's not fair to assess games without them all being here, obviously I've been outside and I've played other games, and I've got to say that Papa Duke Games, is that how you pronounce his name? I think that's how you pronounce his name. They're amongst my favourites. You've got World Cup Soccer, of course, Theatre of Magic, Circus Voltaire, and Tales of the Arabian Nights. The latter 3 have never been here. Bit of a hint, I guess. Have never been here, so I can't assess them and put them on the list. But he makes a great game, this guy, and I think I'd be hard-pressed to separate one from any of the others. And World Cup Soccer, it's just that combination of addictive gameplay and great shots. And I think the thing to say about World Cup Soccer is it merges probably my two biggest passions. Well, actually, my 2 biggest passions, if we discount pizza for a second, which you can eat before you play pinball, it's pinball. And it's football, or as you call it in the States, soccer, because actually that's my team there, West Ham United. So my job is actually football. I do a YouTube channel and do podcasts and that sort of thing, all around football. That's my job. So to have a pinball machine that has football in it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Now, the reason I started doing this series was because I think I was sort of motivated by the Pinside Top 100. I love the Pinside Top 100, but it didn't necessarily reflect my thoughts on games. My Top 100 would be different, which is why I've decided to do this. But the Pinside Top 100 ranks games on things like playfield layout, music, lighting, longevity, gameplay, cabinet artwork, back glass artwork. These are all part of the things when you go and rate a game on Pinside. It will ask you to mark each one out of a certain number, and it will put it all into the supercomputer, and it will tell you what the average score is. There's some things on that which I don't care about on a game. I don't care how good or bad the back glass is. It's certainly not going to factor into my enjoyment on a game. The reasons why I might rate a game higher than a different game are things like, is the game fun? Is it addictive? Does it have humour? Has it got charm and personality? What are the toys and the mechanisms like? Is it approachable? What are the shots like? The positions? What are the rules? And when I say what are the rules, I don't mean difficult rules. I don't want rules that are hard to understand. I want rules that are easy to understand. Ideally, the playfield tells me what the rules are, or I can get it pretty much most of it with that apron card. Does it have achievable goals? No pun intended for this game. Is it rewarding? Is it frustrating? And lastly, do I regret it leaving? Do I miss it? I think that's always a telltale one, particularly if you've had a game in your house and it goes. I think, actually, I quite miss that. I wish that game was here for me to play now. And so what we're going to do at the end of the video, I'm going to walk over to that board. We're going to take this magnetic sign and we're going to put it, we're going to insert it somewhere, if you know what I mean. So, World Cup Soccer. Let's go through now what I'm going to talk about in terms of where it would rank, in terms of what I think is important to me in a game. I should probably say I was going to do Walking Dead today, but I decided not to do it because I think on some of these videos, where I can, I'll get a second opinion. But sometimes it's a little bit prohibitive and it delays the release of the video. So I just wanted to rush this out. So it'll only be my opinion on World Cup soccer today, but I don't think it's going to be particularly controversial. I am aware that my opinion on Walking Dead is controversial. I was going to do that one today. However, I remember I asked Neil McRae some time ago, because he loves that game, Walking Dead, asked him maybe to give me the opposite opinion, so I'm going to wait to do that, because I do feel it's important to do so. So anyway, World Cup soccer, is it fun? Well, yes. I mean, it's just not beyond doubt, really. World Cup soccer is one of the most fun games, and I'm pretty hopeful that by the time that list is finished, you'll hopefully just see a bunch of fun games at the top, and then but it's not as simple as that. There are a few more things to it. Is it addictive? Very much so. Particularly if you just fail to reach the World Cup final, you've got to go again. You've got to have another go. Does it have humour? I wouldn't say it's the most humorous machine. I wouldn't say it's packed full of jokes, but it's nice. It's fun, but it's not funny, if you know what I mean. But that doesn't matter, because the next one down, does it have charm and does it have personality? Bundles of charm. Bundles of charm. I thought many times about retheming and reskinning the game to match that of my team, West Ham United. And there's been good reasons for me to do that, but also I think there is a sort of charm and authenticity to the original game. You know, obviously the 1994 it was released in, and I don't know, there's something, it does have an awful lot of personality just the way it is. Toys and mechanisms. Well, yes, first of all, it's got a massive spinning football right on the right-hand side of the playfield as you look at the playfield, which I think is really good. In terms of the toys and the mechanisms, it's got some neat diverters on the ramps, which I think are really good. And I think the thing that really steals the show on it, though, is the goalkeeper. There's just some things that lend themselves to pinball, and you don't really need to explain it to anybody. On a previous video, I discussed the Champion Pub. It's obvious when the heavy bag turns around and you get the big bare knuckle boxer there. It's quite obvious that you have to hit him with the pinballs. That's obvious. And in the same way, World Cup soccer's the same. It's obvious you've got to hit the ball into the goal, and it's great that goalie's there trying to stop you. I think it's really, really good. There's a little scoop just next to it where you can take a penalty. Fantastic. There's also something else which I think lends it to the game, which is obviously goalkeepers make a save, and there's a Magna save. There's actually a separate button on it's the left-hand side of the cabinet, which if you hit that, if the ball's about to drain, you have to catch it just right. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you can actually engage the magnet, which will save the ball and stop it draining. It's basically, you're doing a save by the goalie. And I think it's really, really good, and I love that. There's so much to love about that game. In terms of is it approachable? It's incredibly approachable for all the reasons that I just gave. You're just going to play a game of football, and it's really obvious. And it talks you through. It talks you through it to an extent, which takes us on to actually, we'll go to the rules in a second. Shots and positions. I think the ramps are really rewarding. I really love them. The goal it's easy enough to hit, but you can't just hit it from all the time. The goalkeeper was there to stop you scoring. And it's certainly easier to hit the goal from the right flipper than the left, for instance. I like the way you have to go over the rollover buttons to light the goal. I think that's really cool as well. The shots, there's a scoop there, which is really important. There's a scoop shot, which is really important for advancing the modes and getting into the modes and getting into the matches themselves. It can be tricky to hit, particularly on the fly. You find yourself, certainly myself, find myself trapping up to try and hit that shot, but really, really good. The shots, the positions, the ramps are satisfying, but I just think he's good at that, isn't he? They've got and I'm talking when I say I mean Papa Duke, the designer, and I'm aware that I might be slaughtering his name there, but I think that's it. There's a real long flow to a lot of his ramps on there, and I've really enjoyed them, and the orbits. I do like the orbits on his game as well, and there's points during this game where you get ultra jets, or you get ultra spinner. The ultra spinner is very, very satisfying. I could take or leave spinners, but on some games they're just done well. There you go. That's one of them there. Hold on, drop my microphone. The spinner on Foo Fighters there is good. It's very rewarding. Dolly Parton, very rewarding spinner. We've all got spinners that we like on particular games. I think there's some games where you you almost can miss them. They almost disappear into the background. I really like the spinner on World Cup Soccer, and I think it's incorporated really, really well into the rules, and I guess into the coding, which takes us on to rules. It's a little bit convoluted, if I'm honest. Playing the games of football themselves are really clear. It's very obvious. That's simple. However, I do think the destinations of going through the various cities and the World Cup hosts can be a little bit tenuous. And I think having to buy tickets, that whole thing is a little bit odd. It's like they've tried to merge the playing of the game, actually playing the game, that's being a footballer and being a player, with also being a fan and attending the game by travelling around to the different destinations and buying tickets to the game and that sort of thing. I think it's a little bit muddled. Maybe I wouldn't have done it that way. And I think that's the one thing I always thought, if I ever was going to retheme it, I'd probably take that aspect out and make that more involved with gameplay. I'd probably change that ticketing to maybe coaching, maybe training. You're training before the game or something like that. But I think it's a minor. It's probably a minor. It's not even an irritation. It's one thing to maybe mark it down slightly for. There is a section on here where I'm looking at the rules. Is it really easy to understand? No. But that doesn't mean it's unapproachable. They're two different things. Will you walk up to World Cup Soccer and know how to advance in the game? No, not really. I don't think you will. But it's so much fun hitting those ramps and then hitting that goal that you're just going to play it and you're going to enjoy it anyway. Once you get to know it, I think it's really, really good, and I like the way you hit both ramps, and then that you engage it, and you basically hit the outer. It's left to right on the orbit, and that's how you lock in your next destination. So once you get to understand it, it's a simple enough rule set. It doesn't take very long at all. Does it have achievable goals? It absolutely has achievable goals. I think when I had it here, I reached the World Cup final on a number of occasions. I don't think I won the World Cup that many times, but I do remember one of the games, I was getting a lot of extra balls. I won the World Cup, and then I also went background, clocked the game again, and almost got, or maybe I did get to the World Cup final again. So I almost did it twice in one game. But it's a great game, and I don't have a problem with that. I would much rather see the end of a game than never see the end of a game. So yeah, I think that's really, really enjoyable. Is it rewarding? Is it frustrating? There's nothing frustrating about the game at all. It is a pinball machine. Sometimes it's going to drain, right? And it's fine, even when the goalkeeper saves the ball. It's not frustrating. It's part of it. It's part of the theme. It's part of the game. I really enjoy it. I really, really like the game. Do I regret it leaving? I don't regret it leaving, but I certainly do miss it. There are times, certainly, where I think I would quite fancy a game of World Cup Soccer. It's a good game. World Cup Soccer is a really, really good game. And you know what? I've got a smile on my face when I'm talking about it pretty much the whole way through the video, I'm quite sure. So I think that probably tells you everything you need to know. It's just one of those games that puts a smile on people's faces. It's never going to be up there and be one of the big hitters like Medieval Madness or Monster Bash or Attack from Mars in terms of those old WPC games. But it's maybe a bit of a sleeper, in that sense. And I know I say that, and a lot of people consider it to be highly rated. I couldn't tell you. Maybe I should have checked where it sat on the Pinside top 100 before it. But it's not many people say it's their favourite game. But when you ask people, do you like World Cup Soccer? They say, oh yeah, World Cup Soccer. That's a great game. Maybe the fact that it's not too hard is maybe that stops people keeping it in their collection or maybe having it in their collection. I think if it was your only game, I think you'd probably clock it. And, maybe you'd want to move it on after a little while. But I would also say, in terms of how easy the games are, I would certainly say the same. Theatre of Magic is a relatively easy game. Circus Voltaire is a relatively easy game. And I don't know Tales of the Arabian Nights as well as the other three games, but as I understand it, it's a relatively easy game. That's not a problem for me. That doesn't stop me from wanting to play them again. Far from it, actually. I think there's something quite nice in completing it and then actually going and trying it again. And then, of course, you're not just playing to complete the game, are you? You're playing for score, which I think is another thing. A great game, and I think certainly an underused theme. I know there are maybe some older games, there's some Gottlieb certainly, which have incorporated football into them. But I think because football, and when I say football, obviously I'm talking about soccer here, guys, is because football is predominantly a European sport and South American. I think maybe in North America, this is where pinball machines are usually made. I think it's not a theme that's found its way into that many pinball machines, and I think there's certainly scope. How well it would sell over in the States, I don't know, but I think there's certainly scope in the UK for another football game. Perhaps they wouldn't sell that many, but I do wonder why there's a little bit more sport has not been incorporated into pinball. I think it works really well. It's natural, isn't it? You've got a sport where there's a ball, be it football, be it tennis, be it golf, be it basketball. You don't see that many. That being said, you do get basketball games. What have there been? At least three or four basketball games, and I think they lend themselves really, really well. Clearly, I'm not oblivious to the fact that NBA, and I'm talking about the league here. I'm talking about the National Basketball Association, is massive over in the States, and that's where pinball machines are made. So clearly, that's going to be featured more. But I think it's something I'd like to see a little bit more sport-themed pinball machines would be no bad thing as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, that's enough waffle from me. Let's take a walk over to that board and see where this is going to end up. Let's have a little look where this is going to go then, and I do think it's going to be... It's a relatively easy one of the easiest ones for me to do here. I will work from the bottom upwards. Is it better than Popeye, Ghostbusters, Judge Dredd? Yes, it is. It is better than all those. So we start moving on from whether it's better and to what is going to measure it in terms of, am I going to have it before I have another game? So we'll take value and we'll take money out of it. So I'm just going to imagine I had no pinball machines at all in my house, and you were going to say to me, I'm going to lend you a pinball machine for a year, and it can only be one of these. Now, maybe a touch controversially, would I take Medieval Madness or World Cup Soccer? I'd still take World Cup Soccer. I am sorry, I do find Medieval Madness a little bit repetitive, despite the fact of having all the humour and it being a classic. Would I take this before Avengers Infinity Quest? Yes, I would. I would absolutely take this before Avengers Infinity Quest. And I should say this list is subject to change. And I think it was somebody on one of the comments, and I apologise, I can't remember exactly who it is, said maybe once I've put 10 games on here, I should maybe do an additional video and have an assessment, and if I want to move any around, do it then, which I thought was a really, really great shout, so thank you. I'd have it before I had Avengers Infinity Quest, World Cup Soccer, or Champion Pub. Oh, it's tough. That's tough. That's really tough. I think I'm going to take Champion Pub, but this may change. I mean, it's so close. I even changed my mind as I was thinking about it then. I think that's what I'm going to go for. Yes, I think I'll still take Champion Pub. So I think this goes into 4th position. Elvira's House of Horrors will stay where it is. Attack from Mars. It's going to take a really good game to shift Attack from Mars. I will tell you that now. And I think there's possibly only 3 games that are capable of doing so. A little bit of a teaser. I'm not saying they will. World Cup Attack from Mars may stay at the top. But for the moment, if I just move all of these down just a smidgen, I'll rearrange the boards at another time. So my pen's faded there. No! I've got it wrong! I did it wrong! Oh my word, perhaps that means something. At the moment, sorry World Cup Soccer. It's been demoted. I thought it was getting a bronze medal. It's not getting a medal at all. There we go. World Cup Soccer, so as it stands at the moment. Attack from Mars, Elvira's House of Horror, Champion Pub, World Cup Soccer, Avengers Infinity Quest, Medieval Madness, Judge Dredd, Ghostbusters, Popeye. I definitely need a new pen. I'm going to go and... I thought I had a better one than that. Anyway, thank you very much for everybody who's joining in it. It's great fun. I do enjoy doing these videos very much so. Please, if you've not subscribed to the channel already, please just hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get a notification every time I upload a video, which is quite frequently at the moment. It will die off a little bit. I'm just trying to get this board filled up before Pinfest starts. Anyway, thanks for joining in.